Hey, this is Evan Longoria of your San Francisco Giants, and you're listening to TortureCast.
You're listening to a podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. With hosts Willie Dills, Chad King, Ben Lee, and Eric Nathanson. Dedicated to the greatest team in Major League Baseball, the San Francisco Giants. This is TortureCast.
It's Monday, May 6th, 2019, and this is episode 164 of the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. I'm your host, Chad King, and with me today, let's all wish him a belated happy 40th birthday. Eric Nathanson, what's up, dude?
Hey, the Giants wished me a happy 40th birthday. They had that epic once-in-a-30-year comeback Friday night on my 40th birthday, and couldn't have come at a better time. I was determined. I was having a great day. I watched Hendricks throw a Maddox in the afternoon against the Cardinals. He just owned them. And then
like
watching
81 pitches? Ugh,
it was,
crazy.
and he only threw like 17 balls or some crap like that. It was ridiculous. He had them swinging early in the count and like popping it up. It was like a Maddox performance. Anyway, and then the Giants come back from down 8 runs in that epic fashion on Friday night. It was like the perfect way to cap off a 40th birthday. And I was determined to watch and enjoy every moment of that Giants game. So I'm glad that they stepped up. And then today is Willie Mays' birthday. Today, May 6th, is Willie Mays' 88th birthday, the greatest player in the history of Major League Baseball, in my opinion.
Oh, he absolutely is. Marty Lurie, I was listening a little bit yesterday during his pre- and post-game shows, and he was talking a lot about Willie Mays, obviously, because of his birthday was today, and so he played a couple of interviews he had with Willie Mays over the last couple of years. And Willie is still sharp as a tack in terms of his mental acuity. Apparently his eyesight is what's really lacking. So you do see him in some of the pre-game festivities at Oracle Park. He doesn't really see what's going on, and that's the whole thing. So mentally he's there. He still talks stories, he talks ball, he talks shop. His hearing's okay, but I guess it's his sight that's kind of left him. So he can't really see things in front of him. He can't really see people who gave him a standing ovation when he had his bobblehead day and they honored him. But I mean, for an 88-year-old man, I mean, that's pretty awesome. I hope to just get to 80, and that would be an accomplishment.
Right.
So kudos for him.
88's impressive, especially with that kind of an athletic career, that he never had some sort of injury that forced something that could have forced something else medically. Like, he's been able to live a long life.
I mean, a lot of pillars of Giants history have been lost over the last year, and I know they come in threes, and they've already had 3, but it's just, you just kind of hope Willie just lasts another couple years or something. The end is probably near. He's not living to 100 or anything like that. But, we lost Willie McCovey, Peter McGowan, Frank Robinson. I mean, it's been tough losing these icons in Giants history. So I think we just need to cherish and recognize how valuable Willie Mays has been. I agree with you, best player of all time, certainly the best player in San Francisco Giants history. And so it's pretty cool to see him still around. I've personally never talked to him or met him. I have a signed book from him, and I have seen him at a couple of games I've covered where I went into the clubhouse, and there's this little office to the right. And I remember this is about 4 years ago. It was exactly 4 years ago, because it was during the ring ceremony in the beginning of the 2015 season. And we got to look at Bruce Bochy's ring. He came up to the press box, and so I have a lot of pictures of that. But going down to the clubhouse, because they were having this ring ceremony, they brought in all of the VIPs. And as I entered to try and interview some Giants, I looked to the right, and I mean, there's Willie McCovey and Willie Mays sitting just talking ball by themselves. And I'm 10 feet away just going, how much would I pay just to go in there and listen to them? But they're so, I don't know, it's just intimidating, and I don't know if they were off limits or not, but no one else was in the room with them, so I figured it was off limits, right? But boy, what I would have given just to pop in there and shake his hand. I kind of regret not doing it, but at the same time, who knows if he would have cursed me out of the room, Get out of here, kid.
Right? Like, who are you? What do you want? I agree. It's like a sanctuary to have guys like that in there talking.
Yeah, it's not like people were crowded around him, and then I might have popped in. But so, yeah, happy birthday, Willie Mays, 88, unbelievable. Boy, they could really use Willie Mays in his 30s right now, because the Giants are not – I mean, last week was a worse week. This week hasn't been – it's been a weird week, Eric. I mean, because overall – so just to recap right now, the Giants are still playing in Cincinnati in the morning game, and they are down 12-4 in the top of the 8th inning right now. So – they're going to lose this game, so I'm going to count this as a loss for our kind of a stat week here. So if you consider this a loss, they went 4-3 for the week. They took 2 out of 3 at home against the Dodgers, which is fantastic. And then they've split in Cincinnati. But they honestly could have and should have been swept in 4 games in Cincinnati. And coming into this series, they had lost 8 consecutive games in Cincinnati. They have now been outscored in the last 10 games by over 90 runs, not outscored. The Reds have scored over 90 runs in the last 10 games. So the Reds have averaged 9 runs per game against the Giants over the last 10. That is really hard to do. I mean, you're going to have a couple of stinkers here and there, but to sustain a 9-run average over 10 games, that is horrendous. So Great American Ballpark has become some sort of horror show and horror house for the Giants, and I cannot wait, and you said this pre-show, for the Giants to get out of there, even though they're going to Colorado, which has historically not been a great place for them as well. But I think they're completely lucky to get a split. No matter how much their ERA was inflated for the staff, they got out of there. They should have lost, could have lost all 4 games. They didn't.
Yeah, it was a great week starting out with the LA series, and I really think before we roll back to LA, when it comes to Cincinnati, I think something is in the Giants' heads, their pitchers' heads, their hitters, both. Something from going from the drastic difference of Oracle to the bandbox that is Cincinnati. I feel like part of their faults in the past for not scoring runs where the hitters were literally trying too hard. I remember in high school there was this one school we played at that their left field wall was like short, like a 250 porch or something like that. So everybody started trying to yank the ball, and none of us really hit the ball over the fence or anything like that. And it seems like the Giants get in that mentality when they're in Cincinnati sometimes. And they broke through with it over the weekend, but the pitchers have not. And I don't know if it's because they come into the series, and you know that Kurt Young, Bruce Bochy, and then before that Dave Righetti was harping, got to keep the ball down in Cincinnati. You got to keep the ball down. You got to keep the ball down. And I wonder if that gets in their heads after a while. And, like you said, though, they're lucky to get a split in Cincinnati. But the week started off so great by beating LA in 2 different fashions, in 2 different ways. It felt like old times back at Oracle Park on the Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of last week.
So let's go ahead and look at the weekend review. We'll start in LA on Monday. They beat the Dodgers 3-2. And to be honest, it wasn't looking good. But we had an extraordinary pinch hitter come up in the form of Evan Longoria. And here's the audio clip.
Down the left field line. That's a fair ball. See if Belt can score. Here he comes. It is not in time. And yes, indeed, Longoria comes through.
How do you hit a sinker ball? You look up. He had a 2-1 count. That ball laid right in, middle in, at the belt. He stays inside it, rakes it down the left field line, and with a 2-out jump, everybody's going to score. Solante's waving home Belt, saying, "Follow me." And watch the reaction from Evan Longoria.
Yeah, that was incredible. Longoria even said, "I was waiting for this hit." It's been a year and a half.
Yeah, and he finally got his Giants moment. Yeah,
exactly. So that was with 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th. So the Giants did hold on to a 3-2 win, and that just started off the series with a bang. Because here we are with our arch rivals. They're in first place. They're still in first place still. Looks like the Giants are going to be 15-20 after today's game, 6.5 back of LA. So I don't think anyone has any premonitions of the Giants catching the Dodgers, but regardless, it's a microcosm in these series. No matter where the Giants or the Dodgers are in the standings, it's like a clean slate in a way, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Playing the Dodgers, it just cleanses the soul and brings it back to Giants. Like, Twitter was alive that night, and the Giants do not inspire that as much anymore. I'll log on for games, and I'll tweet thoughts, but there's definitely not as much buzz. But when it's Giants Dodgers, like, everybody gets into it, and you could hear the ballpark. And Longoria finally had his moment. And who started that game? Somebody started that game and pitched well. Well, obviously it wasn't Sam Dyson. That was Smarja. That was
Samardzija,
okay.
yeah.
That was the start. That was the interesting thing that happened. Smarja threw 5 innings and didn't give up a run. And Bochy decided to pull him and not let him face this Dodgers lineup a third time through. Yeah. And at the outset, it didn't work because Tony Watson came in and gave up a bunch of hits, and the Dodgers were suddenly ahead. But after Evan Longoria's double put them ahead, the bullpen took care of what they were supposed to, and the plan that they put in place worked. And I was impressed to see that the Giants were willing to try something new against the Dodgers. They know how tough it is to face that Dodgers lineup a third time through, and so they told Samardzija, you know what, you're done. We're not gonna expose you. We're just gonna let the bullpen take care of it. And I think they were kind of rewarded in the end by making the right steps. So it was great to have fun Giants-Dodgers baseball again. That was like an edge of your seat kind of game for a little bit.
Yeah, Jeff Samardzija, we'll talk about him in Cincinnati, but he obviously hasn't been very good the last year and a half or so, and I know he's battled some injuries, but this year, essentially they told him, let it all hang out. Don't conserve your energy. Go ahead and do what you do, and we'll pull you after 4 or 5. We don't want to get you through the third time in the lineup when you start fatiguing if you blow your arm out. So go ahead and just let it all hang out. We got the bullpen to back you up. And to be honest, I mean, despite what happened in Cincinnati, he has been fairly consistent this year. He's still obviously given up some home runs, but this Shark is better than last year's Shark. So as long as the bullpen can hold a start that he keeps the Giants in the game on, I'm all for it. Maybe he's not going 7 innings now. Maybe he's a 5-inning guy. But if he can be 5 innings of solid baseball, then I think most Giants fans are going to take it.
Absolutely. It was nice to see that it worked out in a way it did, because, that Longoria moment, and then the next night they came out that Tuesday night and they got beat. How bad was it? I know
10-3.
10-3. I was going to say 9-2. And Pomeranz took the loss, but it was still close when Ty Block came in and he got his ass whooped out of the pen. He got called up for bullpen help, and he did not help the bullpen.
No, he gave up 7 runs in 3 1/3, so that did not go well for the Giants. And we won't dive too far into the stats with the pen and the starters right now, but we've been preaching before last week the consistency of both the starters and, of course, the bullpen, which had a sub-2 ERA and leading all of Major League Baseball. Everything has definitely come back to the mean, I would say, both starters, especially in the Cincinnati series, but bullpen as well. So those numbers don't look as sharp as they used to. Now, of course, the Giants' offense has also clicked up a little bit too, so that's compensating for their deficit in pitching right now. But yeah, that Giants solid bullpen still is solid overall statistically, but definitely some chinks in the armor lately, and Ty Block gave up quite a few runs there. But, you're going to have these games. The Dodgers are the juggernaut in the NL West, so it's not going to be surprising when they have a couple of these games. So they lose that one, and they go in on Wednesday for the rubber game, and it was a classic pitching duel. Madison Bumgarner, who's been very inconsistent this year, you kind of questioning, boys, which Bumgarner is going to show up today. But as we know, just besides the playoffs where he becomes superhuman, he also picks it up for these rivalry games and important games. And the Dodgers are certainly one of them. He knows the importance of them, and he looked sharp. He absolutely was fantastic. The Giants were in the game all the way to the end, and of course, we had someone come up to the plate in the name of Buster Posey in the bottom of the 9th with 2 outs and the score tied at 1.
Base hit left field. Here comes Duggar. Here's the throw home. It's a good throw. This game is over. And The Giants end up taking 2 out of 3. How about that?
So yeah, Buster Posey comes up with Duggar on second with 2 outs, and it was an outside pitch, Eric. And typically when you get that outside pitch, and Posey's good at going the other way, but I think he was actually a little fooled on it. He got a little behind on the ball, or a little head on the ball, and usually when you extend your arms and pull it, you're going to hit a weak ground ball to the left side. But he got enough elevation to get it over the shortstop. But the left fielder was playing a little shallow, and it was a good throw. It was just high. And if anyone but Steven Duggar was running, he would have been out.
Yeah, and Duggar deserved to score that winning run. He had a 3 for 4 night. He was like the only one who figured out Ryu during the first few innings. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to Posey, it's weird because a swing like that shows you when he's actually going well. Because for as much as he was fooled and he was off balance, he was still able to keep his hands back.
Yeah.
And then have them fly through at the last second when they needed to, which is why he could, with the strength that he does have now that his hip's stronger, poke it over the shortstop's head. I think that exact swing results in the ground ball you're talking about 3 weeks ago. I don't think it does anymore. And Posey's shown it. He's been hitting the ball well lately. So it was a Giants win that went to form. The new star Duggar got on base and scored the winning run while the old star Buster Posey drove him in. And Madison Bumgarner had his best start this season, right as we were all questioning, whether or not he'd lost it, like you said. He and Ryu had an all-time Giants-Dodgers pitching matchup, and the Giants were able to figure out the bullpen in the end, as they've been wont to do this year. They score a ton of runs in the end of the game.
They do, and we'll get to that in a little bit. So that was a great classic win, great game. I love those games. I mean, don't get me wrong, and we'll talk about the Cincinnati game, the comeback, but, high-scoring games are fun. I don't want that every game. I do love the classic pitcher's duel, just because the precision and the performance of these players, not just the pitchers, but also the defense, the tension is so much higher because it kind of comes down to one mistake. When you get these games where it's homer happy, it's like, well, all right, everybody's hitting right now. And again, there is entertainment value in that, and Major League Baseball, I think, wants that because the average fan wants a 10-9 game. They don't want a 2-1 game. For me, myself, I prefer the 2-1 game with a couple of 10-9 games sprinkled in there. That's just a personal preference. But.
Well, could you
Plus,
imagine?
it's a quicker game, too,
Right, but could you imagine these games at Cincinnati if these were the way they were every day? This is more torture sometimes because it's a lot harder to know who's going to win when it's 7-6 than when it's like 2-1. At least when it's 2-1, there's like a clear edge on who seems to be pitching better. One mistake can change it. But when both teams are bashing the ball, then you have a hard time to figure out, well, this guy can hit a 3-run homer at any time. And the Giants don't play those games. So I'm with you. I love those tight, taut thrillers that are 2-1, 3-2, 1-0 games. It shows excellence in baseball.
It does. That's the way I think the game is supposed to be played. So the Giants get an off day on Thursday, and they fly to Cincinnati, where it's been the house of horrors lately. They had lost 8 consecutive games at Great American Ballpark coming into the game. And suddenly they find themselves down 8-0 right away. And there's been this consistent theme with the Giants this year in getting down very, very early. And needing to come back. And boy, did they ever come back from this game. And so I'm going to play a little bit of a longer audio clip here, kind of summarizing the entire comeback. I don't want to forget the ones who contributed to the runs prior to what happened at the end of the game. So you might hear Eric and I chime in here during this highlight reel.
Small park, barrel it up, see what happens.
He hits a ground ball. Diving Dietrich. From his knees, throws out Crawford. That gets a run in. Posey comes in to score. Giants are on the board. That also moves Belt and Longoria up. Can they make it a big inning? 2-2. Breaking ball right back up the middle. Base hit for Duggar. Belt will score. Longoria right after him. It's a 2-run single for Duggar. And it's 8-3. Duggar to center field. That one hit well. Senzel is back, and he will make the catch on the move. Crawford tags. He'll score. What a play by the rookie
That
in
makes
center
it 10
field.
to 4. Cincinnati had scored 2 more. They're still down by
Batting
6.
gloves hitter. And he drives one out toward right center field.
Stephen Vogt.
Puig will watch it over his head. It's off the wall.
Just missed a home run.
Takes a hard carom back behind Puig. Pilar's going to try to score. The throw all the way home. And Pilar slides in
That was
safely.
a hell of a throw by Puig, too.
Wow, what a
That
throw.
made it 10 to 5.
And it took every bit of speed from Kevin Pilar to score that 5th run. Panic drives one down the right field line, and it is gone. The Giants are back in this game. It's only the 6th inning.
The 6th inning.
A
We'll talk about
3-run
that.
lead now. It was once 8-0. It's now 10-7 after Panic's 2-run homer.
Back in this game is right.
And a base hit up the middle. They're going to wave in Vogt. And it's 11-9.
And that's
They
Brandon
come.
Belt with a 2-run single, putting him within 2.
Nice
in the
piece
top
of
the
hitting
8th,
right
with
there.
2 outs again. A lot of 2-out hits.
2-2.
Yeah, the whole game.
And a base hit into right center field to make it a 1-run game.
And that's Longo with a single. 11 to 10.
He's no stranger to.
And here we go. Stephen
spots
Vogt
like
with
this.
2 outs in the top of the 9th.
High drive to right. It is out of here. And this
So
game
awesome.
is tied.
Wow. You nailed it.
He's 3 for 3, and he's just tied it up. And look at this welcome.
That's unbelievable.
How about that?
That's a pump dugout right there. Well, you said this is the guy you want up in these situations.
And then we go to the 11th with Longo.
The turn of a new day. This ball is hit down the left field line a long way, and the Giants, after being down 8-0, lead 12-11 here in the top of the 11th inning on a home run by Evan Longoria. And look at that Giant dugout. I mean, that's reminiscent of the 2012 Giants dugout in the postseason.
Boy, you would have to bring that up.
That's what it looks like. It's the last time I saw it like that.
Yeah. All you're missing is Hunter Pence.
I love that. That was great with the last cap with the Reds announcers talking about, boy, the last time we saw that was 2012. Yeah, when the Giants came back from 2 games to none, and Posey's grand slam and the Hunter Pence speech and the whole thing. So that was so much fun, Eric. I mean, I was at a spaghetti dinner for my kids' school, so unfortunately I couldn't watch the entire game. We had a phone up and we were watching here and there, and I had the audio and all that, so I missed some of the moments. But once they started getting back into the game, boy, the interest just skyrocketed, and I was trying to negotiate that along with trying to get food for my kids and playing catch with my daughter and everything like that. But that was the 5th time the Giants have come back from an 8-0 deficit. No, they've never come back from a 9-run deficit, so that tied their record. But it hasn't happened since September of 1989. And what's really funny about that is that I distinctly, that's one of those memories burned in my brain. I remember I was at a San Jose mall, Oak Ridge Mall, at the JCPenney, in their electronics department. Now, this is 1989, so remember, this is tube TVs, right? And I remember standing there. I was 15 years old. Almost 16, but I was 15 years old, a teenager, watching the end of this epic comeback and just going, holy shit, I cannot believe they came back from it. And it took another 30 years for that to happen, but it also happened in 1947, twice in 1970, and then in 1989. So this is a very rare thing, everyone. So the fact that the Giants came back really was a testament to their just their resilience and their ability to do this, and that's what really secured the split.
It was amazing because Vogt who had never played for the Giants in his first appearance in a Giants uniform, goes 3 for 3. Yeah. And when he hit that double his first time up, I thought that ball was gone. I really thought he got all of it. And then for him to put a swing on and hit the game-tying home run in the top of the ninth with 2 outs it was such a great capper. And the one you mentioned back in September of 1989 was also at Cincinnati.
Yes, it was.
Which is just so weird when you think about it. But it was epic. That's going to be burned in my brain forever. It really was. Steven Duggar is the engine that makes them go some days. He went 3 for 5. He was in the middle of every one of those run-scoring rallies, it seemed. Mm-hmm. You know, it was a Giants team that this is what we talk about when we talk about enjoying moments during a not-so-good season. The Giants gave us the gift of a game like that. So we'll remember something real positive from May 3rd, 2019. You know, they'll still mention that game when the Giants fall down 8 runs 20 years from now, because they probably will not have done it again. And for a while, we're now going to think whenever the Giants fall behind, hey, maybe they can come back. They did it in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, and we talked about it even in our season preview. We know this team isn't going to be good this year, but we're going to look and enjoy these types of wins because it's kind of all we got. It's definitely a lot of fun and entertainment, but it's also, you know, this may be different in August and September if the Giants are, 20 games back or whatever. But for right now, the players are certainly trying. They feel like, hey, we're trying our best, not only for their contracts, obviously, but, as a team. I mean, you saw them, and the Cincinnati broadcasters noted that the dugout just went crazy. And this is the kind of stuff that builds great chemistry on a team, no matter what the talent level is. So you hope that this can be sustained to some level and give them some little glimmer of hope, flicker of life, whenever they're down by a few runs here and there. And that's actually what happened a couple of games later. So the next day, on Saturday, was another egg laid by Derek Rodriguez. They lost 9-2. He got hit hard again in the first inning again. But man, I'm not going to play the highlight because you got to see it, but I'm sure most of you have. Kevin Pillar with probably the catch of the year so far. I mean, just incredible. And I actually saw that one live. And Dwayne Kuiper, in his audio recap there, said, high drive to center field, and Pillar's going to run out of room. And he didn't run out of room. And Sean Estes, going just, wow. He actually overran it. He overjumped it. It's an 8-foot wall in center field in Cincinnati. He jumps up, holds on with his right arm, and was prepared to extend his arm way over the fence. The ball was a couple of feet shorter than he thought. Still would have been a home run. And he makes the catch in the palm of his glove. And that was just incredible.
It was funny, too, the way he caught it. It was like swatting at the ball as he caught it because it had to just drop out of the sky on him where it did, because obviously he was expecting the ball to go higher with the fact that it was hanging off the fence. And so now he was Superman in Toronto, so he becomes Spider-Man when it comes to the Giants. And he's made some great plays. He's gotten to some balls in the outfield so far. That was definitely his catch of the year. I thought it was good. I kind of take points off for the misjudging of the ball. I don't want to take anything away from him. You are critical. Yeah, I really don't. But, he almost looked foolish because that ball drops at a slightly quicker rate. It's going under his glove and hitting off the top of the wall that he's hanging off of. So I give him – but the degree of difficulty having to catch it like that, still, though, it was a great highlight. And it was he robbed the kid Senzel, the Reds rookie who hadn't homered yet. He robbed him of his first big league home run doing that after robbing the kid of his first big league hit the day before. So it's like Pillar had that kid's number.
I don't have the tweet in front of me, but did you see some Cincinnati fan tweeted at Kevin Pillar basically saying F you for taking away the hit, his first hit? And then he robs a home run too. The kid got an infield hit, later, and obviously he got a home run later, and he hit 2 home runs today. So the kid is quite the talent. But yeah, Kevin Pillar, they were calling him Superman as he was known in Toronto for laying out. Now everyone's calling him Spider-Man, and I think I tweeted out, just make him an Avenger already. Just he does it all. So
sign him up.
Yeah, he's been great. Again, a breath of fresh air. I know his stats aren't great in terms of his batting average or on-base percentage, but he seems to pick the right moments for not only his defensive plays, but his offensive, prowess as well. So, I'm not going to judge him based on just his batting average at this point. So that was a tough loss. But again, this was another theme that kind of was through that game. The Reds scored 9 runs, but they scored 8 of those 9 runs with 2 outs. And it's one of those things where the Giants only scored 2 runs. They weren't going to win the game. But if they just cut those number of 2-out hits in half, maybe the Reds only win 4-2 or something like that. And who knows what could have happened with the butterfly effect. The Giants just couldn't lock it down. They couldn't get that last out in those situations.
Seems to have been a problem for them too this season. I know that. Today they had problems doing everything,
No kidding.
but they from the starters to the relievers, though, just closing out an inning seems to have become an issue for the Giants staff as a whole, and I honestly don't know how they address that. But they made up for it.
And your handle is 2-out hits, so you must really hate it when the Reds are taking advantage of
No, well, I mean, the way I look at it as it giveth and it taketh away. That's why I say 2-out hits are the key to life, because you talk about that butterfly effect. And if you had just gotten out of that inning and prevented the runs from scoring, you're in a better position. But nope, if a team gets 2-out hits that drive in runs, they're devastating.
It's demoralizing.
And they really are. They really are. And teams that win in the playoffs, they do those kinds of things. And I'm not saying the Reds are a playoff team, because they look to be about the same talent level as the Giants right now. But, a team that's not a playoff team will constantly give up the 2-out hits. And the Giants, they seem to do that a lot.
Yeah, the thing that is concerning is the amount of runs the Giants gave up this series. And again, they're lucky that they won, they split the series. But the Giants and Reds have the exact same record. They had the same record coming in. They have the same record going out at 15-20. So like you said, the Reds are not a good team, but it felt like they were a good team during this series because the Giants really could have and should have been swept. And that is cause for concern. Only in the sense of if this is a 4-game series against the Brewers or the Cubs, who have been playing out of their minds, or the Dodgers or whatever, you go, okay, well, they're a really good team. They're a playoff team. The Reds are not a playoff team, and the Giants really struggled. And I know it's in the bandbox in Cincinnati and at the ballpark, but at the same time, the Giants have had really good pitching, and it was completely castrated for this series, and that is, concerning.
25, 37 runs in 4 games. Holy crap. But Sunday they were able to not give up runs to 2 outs. Shark limited the damage to nobody out. So it gave them a chance to come back after they fell 4-0 in the first inning after Shark gave up back-to-back home runs on 3 straight pitches, which was just unbelievable. I was watching it. I yelled the loudest expletive. And I left my office. I went to go do some work in my wife's office. She had the Rangers game on. I didn't even change it right away. I was so mad at Smarsh John. Yeah. I was so pissed. I left it for like 2 innings, and then I tuned back in to see that the Giants start to make their comeback when Posey hit a 3-run homer to tie it as part of a 4-run sixth when they finally broke free against Luis Castillo, starting with a Steven Duggar base hit. There's that man again. And then Posey hits his 3-run homer, which is his second homer of the year. Great stat about Posey's homer. Second homer of the year, second 3-run homer of the year, second time on a Sunday, second time on the road in a ballpark that sits next to a river.
Wow. Well, what do you know?
So, yeah, right.
Jeff Samardzija, he's been known for giving up the gopher ball, but, it was just, there was nobody out, and suddenly it's 4-0. And it was just like, 3 straight pitches, that is really hard to do. I didn't see any information on how often that's happened, but obviously 3 home runs in a row is hard enough to do. But on 3 consecutive pitches, it's like, Jeff, throw a ball. It's like, just
throw it out of the zone. Yeah.
But yeah, here we go. I have some audio of Posey's tying 3-run homer in the 6th.
He hits that one to right center field and pretty well hit. Senzel is back at the wall, gone! There you go, 1 swing away, and the Shark is eaten in the dugout. A 3-run homer for Buster Posey. The Giants have tied it up. The toughest pitcher to hit for right-handed hitters in the league. Luis Castillo, and Posey ambushed him.
Tries to set up inside, leaves it right down the middle and down, but it was down. Buster went and dug it out. Hit it to right center field, live part of this ballpark.
Yeah, so just an incredible at-bat by Posey. His second home run of the year could not have come at a better time. And Luis Castillo, who, by the way, is a former Giant. I know they traded him away many, many years ago, but he's really, really looking good. He had a sub-2 ERA coming into this game, and he's got nasty stuff. And like Fleming just mentioned there, he's the hardest pitcher to hit for right-handers, and Posey took him oppo. So it was just perfect timing for the Giants. Again, they had come back from 8 runs down 2 days prior, and now come back from 4 runs down in this game, and then that enabled them to get to the 9th inning, and with a runner on second and 1 out, with the score tied 4-4, Bruce Bochy put in Brandon Crawford.
Left center gap, preferably.
High drive to right. It is out of here.
Florida's got his wish.
His first one of the year, and that has to feel great.
Go ahead, 2-run home run. Top of the 9th off the closer.
He needed a couple of innings off.
There's the pitch. Barnhart wants it down. No, left it up. Crawford middle in, looking for it. Boom. Crushed.
So, I mean, talk about the perfect timing for your first home run of the year. Everyone has been dogging on Crawford. His defense has been fine. It's been adequate. It's been good. But his offense has been just tailing off. So perfect timing for that. And they needed that extra run in the 2-run home run because the Reds scored a run in the bottom of the 9th and they won 6-5. So another 1-run win, another victory for the Giants, and another comeback against the Reds. And the Reds got to be kicking themselves because, again, they could have swept this series because update, the Giants did officially lose just a little bit ago, 12-4. So they did split the series.
Did you see who pitched the 8th inning for the Giants?
I did not.
Pablo Sandoval.
Did he really?
Yep.
Oh, shit. And how'd he do? 0 runs! Of course.
Yes, he did all right. He, where did it go?
Let Pablo pitch!
Yeah, and well, I mean, his bobblehead is this Saturday, so they gotta sell bobbleheads,
perfect.
so that's the perfect timing.
Oh,
so he hit somebody, and then Josh Van Meter, the other prize rookie, flied out, and then Nick Senzel grounded into a double play. So Pablo owns the rookies. He got a fly out and he got a double play ball. Pablo faced the minimum in the 8th inning today.
That is fantastic. I mean, yeah, let's just talk a little bit about this game. Nick Pomerantz, who has been hit and miss with the Giants. We talked about how much he nibbles and how many his pitch count gets so high because of that nibbling. And today he was just off. He allowed 5 runs in the first, a common theme with the Giants. And I'm going to get to these stats in just a second after we recap this game. But he allowed 5 runs in the first and 2 runs in the second, and suddenly the Giants find themselves down 7-1. Again, they got to dig out of these crazy holes. And you just said Pablo pitched in this game, and in the 6th, which is their highest scoring inning of the year so far, hit a 3-run home run to pull them within 7-4. And Dave Fleming and Sean Estes were like, "Hey, maybe this can happen again. Now they're only down by 3 in the 6th inning. We can do this." Unfortunately, Pat Venditti came into the bottom of the 6th and absolutely laid an egg. And in fact, I want to go ahead and recap his adventures in the 6th. So Pat comes in, pitches right-handed. Eugenio Suarez hit by a pitch. Then he continues to pitch right-handed. Puig walks. 2 free batters. Then there's a mound visit. Now he's still pitching right-handed, and Kyle Farmer singled, and that loads the bases. He's still pitching right-handed, and Jose Iglesias singles to left field and scores 2. Suddenly, it's 9-4. Then Venditti is still pitching right-handed, and Kurt Casali singles on a line drive, scores another run, makes it 10-4. Still pitching right-handed, Jose Peraza hit by a pitch. Then there's a pinch hitter that comes in, and now Venditti goes to his left-hand side, and I don't know how you pronounce this guy's name. Josh Van.
I think it's Van Meter. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
Van Meter.
He was also hit by a pitch with the bases loaded. That scored Jose Iglesias, making it 11-4. Then there's a mound visit, and then finally Sam Dyson comes in to replace Venditti. Strikes out Nick Senzel, who obviously had a great series. And then Joey Votto was hit by a pitch. And Kurt Casale scores, making it 12-4, which was the final score in the game. And, courtesy of Kerry Crowley, tweeted, the Giants tied a Major League record in the 6th inning. They became the first team to hit 4 batters in the same inning since the Pirates hit 4 Boston Braves on August 19th, 1893. Yes, 1893. So just a horrendous inning. Just right after the Giants got back into it, the pitching staff laid an egg. Venditti hit 3 batters. Dyson hit 1, and that was the nail in the coffin. So. What do you?
They weren't coming back from 8 runs down for a second time in this series.
Not with 3 innings to go. Exactly. No. So this translates into what I wanted to talk about, and I think most of the Giants fans understand that the Giants have been giving up so many runs early in the game, certainly recently. But if you look at the entire season, the Giants have scored 2 runs total in the first inning. Their opponents have scored 33. They're being outscored 33-2 in the first inning, which is a differential of 0.88 runs in that first inning if you average it out. They've scored the fewest runs in the first inning in Major League Baseball, and they've allowed the most runs in Major League Baseball in that first inning. They're also minus 0.03 in the second inning and minus 0.44 in the third inning. They're barely above at 0.15 in the fourth and minus 0.24 in the fifth. So if you count the first 5 innings of the game, they're losing 4 out of those 5 innings, and that totals a minus 1.44. That is not good, Eric. And so this is where they find themselves. They're giving up all these runs in the first 4 or 5 innings, and then the Giants are outscoring their opponents by 1/3 of a run in the last 4 innings, which, of course, is dwarfed by the 1.44. But point being, Giants are always coming back from behind, and they obviously have the second biggest run differential total in Major League Baseball, just behind the Miami Marlins. So this 38 runs they've been outscored by during this season. It's not good. It's not good. The 6th inning again today, which is their highest runs per inning before coming into today, they're at 0.79 runs in the 6th inning. They scored 3 in the 6th inning, so that total is higher. But the Reds come right back and score 5. What do they do? I mean, I know that Ahmed Fareed from NBC Sports tweeted out, and I think he was being funny about it, said, is it time to start with a Giants opener to kind of curtail this first inning, bloodfest? I don't think so, of course. I think he was being facetious. But what is going on in the first inning?
I want to blame this weekend on the ballpark, and I really do. I think that I said it before, I think it gets in their heads. I think that they try so hard to keep the ball down that they just have a hard time when it does leak back over the plate or up in the zone, and the pitchers are trying to be too fine, and then the hitters are trying to be too fine, and they're not coming through right away. But this is a problem that goes back farther than that. The Yankee series from the weekend before totally exemplified that. Talent, I think maybe is the answer. You just need better talent. Like Pomerantz is. I mean, the guy's had one good start as a Giant so far. Other than that, he hasn't really shown much. Shark surprisingly has shown a decent amount this season. I mean, he retired 13 straight the other day after the 4 home runs, so he can turn it on when he needs to. And Bumgarner can as well, but this is the most we've seen D-Rod give up early. I don't think the opener's the answer. I don't know if it's talent or coaching at this point, because 2 weeks ago we were, talking about how great the Giants pitching staff was. And now after the Yankees and then the Dodgers once and then the Reds beat up on the pitching, now we have question marks. Is it just one of those stretches? And the Giants will go back to a more pitching-friendly mean as time goes on. No, I have no idea. I really don't. It's I do think talent does have something to do with it. I think that they could have better talent. Like, I hate to say it, but the Giants just aren't as talented as other teams, and they're having a tough time getting going in the beginning of innings too. Beginning of games in the first inning. Like, he's trying everything. He put Gerber in the 2 slot over the weekend. He brought Duggar back up there today. He'd had Panic leading off lately. Like, the Bochy and the Giants are trying whatever they can, but the bottom line is if nobody gets on base by the time Buster and Belt get up, they can't drive anybody in. And you can't change that with a quick fix. It just has to happen. And then again, just it falls on the players. It does. It falls on the players to come through because management they're literally doing what they can with what they have.
So let's do a stat check because this kind of ties into how the Giants are doing right now, being at 5 games under 500. So they have scored this is prior to today's game, by the way. They've scored 3.39 runs per game. They scored 4 today, so that's not changing much. 29th in Major League Baseball. The league average is 4.63, and the highest Texas with 5.77. As we said, the Giants have given up the most runs in the first inning, 33 runs in 35 games, so that's a .94. While by far scoring the fewest runs in the first inning, that's 2 runs in 33 innings, it's .06. The next closest is Miami at .21, so 3 times as much. The Giants have only scored in the first twice, and then Tampa Bay has scored in the first inning 58% of the time. 58% of their games. That's insane to me. They've scored like .93 or 94 runs per, in the first inning. So Tampa Bay is just absolutely killing it. But here's the thing. The Giants are really good in 1-run games. And in their 2 comebacks in this series in Cincinnati, they won by 1 run. In the games against LA, they won by 1 run.
Every game this week.
Every game. So every win this week has been by 1 run. They're 9-2. Major League best. And if it weren't for their ability to win these 1-run games, the Giants might be 10 games under 500. I mean, this isn't sustainable, Eric. That's my point, is that a team isn't going to have this winning percentage in 1-run games. Being 9-2, they're not going to go 18-4 or 36-6 or whatever, you do the extrapolations. So Giants need to do better, and just they have 15 wins, 9 of them are by 1 run.
Wow.
That's not good, buddy. It's not good at all.
Wow, that's 60%. That puts a little more perspective on it. And you mentioned Tampa. Tampa's 21-12. They have the best record in baseball, and I'm sure scoring early has a lot to do with that. And with the Giants where they're at, I mean, there was a few years ago Baltimore was something like some crazy 30-10 in 1-run games or something like that, and they made it to the playoffs and then they got their ass kicked. And everybody was like, "See, we told you they're really not that good." And that's what the Giants have had to try to cobble together. If they don't win 1-run games, they're not winning games at all. That's shocking, though, that 9 of 15 wins are by 1 run, and I'm sure there's like no more than a 4. I can't think of a time the Giants have blown anybody else out.
No,
like every game was probably within 2 to 3 runs. Here it is. Here's the biggest blowout. They beat San Diego 7-2. Right?
Yeah,
yes,
exactly. 7-2.
Back on April 9th.
I remember that.
That's the biggest one. The 4-0 in Toronto and the 7-3 in Washington are the only other ones that come close. And then they beat Colorado 5-2, and then the rest of the 1-run games, every single one of them. I mean, it's just I appreciate that they seem to notice these things, like cutting ties with Parra and letting Gerber come up. I think was definitely a Farhan-driven move, as well as just okay, we need to look forward. We can't really keep looking at these old veterans if they're not going to help us move forward. And I think we're going to see a lot of that, a lot of churn on the roster over the next few months, resembling things like that. So, I mean, they can't really fix it right now. I think they just need to hope that they keep winning 1-run games.
Exactly. And I know a lot of Giants fans out there are clamoring for Mac Williamson to be put on the 40-man roster and be called up eventually, and I am not one of those fans. I love Mac. He's a good guy, but look, he's been around for a few years now, Eric, and he definitely seems to fit the mold of that quad A player. he dominates in the PCL, which is known as a hitters league anyway. And he doesn't perform in the major leagues. So, Farhan is definitely of the type. I mean, they already DFA'd him. He cleared waivers. No one else wanted him. So clearly the 29 other teams were like, yeah, we've seen his splits. He's not a major league player. They all passed on him. He comes back to the Giants, and again, he's just lighting it up in Sacramento, which is great for him. But he's going to hit a couple home runs in the major leagues, no doubt. He's hitting like 210 or something in the major leagues, but he's not the answer. And that's what Farhan is looking for. He's not looking for the guy who can come up and hit 210 with a couple of home runs a year. He's looking for more than that. So he's not going to necessarily remove a guy from the 40-man for him. It could happen. I'm not saying it's impossible, and maybe it will. But for those of you clamoring that he's going to be the 300 hitter hitting 30 home runs a year and ascend the Giants from the ashes like a phoenix, that's not happening, guys. It's just not. That's not who he is.
It's just not what the team is about right now. There's not one quick fix. This is a long haul process. And the way Williamson gets on the roster is if other moves are made and a spot gets cleared. I don't think a spot gets cleared specifically for him, but I think if a spot clears and becomes open on the 40-man, I do think Mac would be in line to get a shot at seeing what he can do at the big league level.
Yeah, I think he will. Let me put it this way. If he keeps this up in the PCL, yes, he will get another shot. I don't think he's going to perform the way that fans might expect him to based on his PCL stats, his AAA stats, but I want the guy to succeed, and, it'd be great, but he's kind of a proven talent right now, and I don't think anything's going to change. We'll see. We'll see.
Well, that's the key with Farhan right now, is he is trying to look at unproven talent. He's not looking necessarily – he's trying to build depth. And the only way to do that is to see some of these guys and get them into the system. And that's just what's going to be done for right now. The Giants are trying new things. This is not a team that's trying to cobble together a bunch of veterans like they did last year and go on a 2010 type run. That's not what the end result's going to be here. And that's why I love moments like Friday night with the comeback and a new guy, Vogt, who wants to be a Giant. I think Vogt's the end of Kratz if he continues to hit. I don't think they're going to keep Kratz around for much longer. So, it's just how the roster is going to be. It's just going to keep churning. It's not like the past where they hang on to everybody for a little too long. Andres Torres is not going to overstay his welcome at this point. Right. It's just not the way the Giants are run anymore, which is fine. They need to do something. I'm getting to the point. After this season, I'll be at that point. 5 years out. All right, show me something. I'm starting to get antsy again. I want my team to win.
I got a couple of updates for you. So I put out a tweet right when we started recording, so I didn't expect many responses saying, hey, send in your questions or statements. Go ahead and curse. We're not a clean podcast. And Chris, which you know him at @BlueJays_Giants, tweeted to us, did Venditti hit Eric or Chad while recording? Thank you, sir. That is fantastic. I love that tweet. That is, I think I have a bruise on my medulla oblongata from Pat Venditti. And then Kerry Crowley has a quote from Pablo Sandoval from pitching tonight. So he says, Pablo said this, quote, pitching is not easy, but it's easy for me because I don't care. What kind of quote is that for Pablo?
But there's some truth to that because he doesn't care about his pitching stats. So he goes out there and he's free and easy as opposed to like Pomeranz, who is definitely not free and easy.
He doesn't care if he gives up a home run or something, right?
He doesn't. I mean, who can blame him? He's out there having fun.
So what is that? 2 innings pitched, no runs, man. This ERA is 0.
Yep.
So the moral of the story is Pablo should be the opener.
Yeah, that's true. That is, if you come to TortureCast for one thing, it's that analysis right there. We have figured out the Giants' problem. They need to have Pablo be the opener, and then they won't fall behind early, and then they'll score runs and they'll win games. That's we can end it right here. This podcast is over. We have fixed the Giants.
Fixed it.
Oh, that's
Farhan, listen to
hilarious.
us.
Right?
All right, let's talk about who's hot and who's not. This is prior to today's game, so these stats are going to be a little bit different. But in the previous 6 games, obviously Steven Duggar, we talked about him. He actually had the highest batting average in all of Major League Baseball for the last week. 10 for 19. That's a 526 clip with 4 runs, 5 RBI. Just fantastic. He set up so many runs, scored so many runs, knocked in so many runs. If it wasn't for Duggar, I mean, the Giants, I think, clearly would have had 2 fewer wins, if not more. So he's been just a key catalyst this week.
And he got robbed a couple times too. Senzel tracked down, I think, 2 different balls that he squared up towards the
fly,
track.
but a double. Yeah.
Yep. And then I remember another running catch. Duggar has really he's decided that he wants to stay. He had 2 3-hit games this week, and the Giants have only had one other 3-hit game all season.
Yeah, just fantastic. Longo went 5 for 14, modest average, but of course a huge home run in extra innings and 5 RBI, including the 3 RBI double against LA. So he literally won 2 games this week. I mean, a 3-run double, which beat the Dodgers, and a 2-run home run that beat the Reds. So anytime a hitter can come in and statistically win 2 out of your 4 games of the week, you're a player of the week. You're hot. So, overall, modest stats, but for the week, great timing for him.
And Buster Posey's picked it up lately. We've been talking about him. He homered on Sunday, hit the double before Crawford's home run late in Sunday's game, driven in 5 himself, and he's hitting 300 over the past week. He looks like Buster Posey again, and I don't mind seeing him in the 3rd spot anymore. It's nice to see him leading the Giants again. When I talk about Duggar being the part of the engine that goes, but when Posey goes, the offense really does seem to go, and that showed 2 different times this week.
Yeah, no, it's been. We had Crawford and Posey going deep. I mean, it's obviously shades to their history, but they're not going to keep this up. Maybe, although Posey, I mean, I've got my hopes out for him. I mean, his right hip.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's better now, and he's just going to slowly get better and better and better. He had 5 home runs all of last year. He's got 2 this year. It's not an incredible amount. We're a 4th of the way through the season already, so he's still only on pace for about 8 or 9 home runs, but hopefully that ticks up a little bit, and he's going to be a little bit of the Posey of the past. He's definitely not going to be 2012 Posey, but it'll be interesting when the All-Star voting starts, because we all know that this is primarily a fan-driven vote to see how the public responds to his name, because he is picking it up, and so he's going to be in more highlights and whatever. Statistically, does he deserve to be an all-star right now? No, not at all. But, who knows what the public's going to do.
Yeah, I mean, he's hitting 320 in his last 15 games. So if he turns it on as the voting comes on, but I mean, Chicago will still come out in droves and vote like Chicago and probably get their boy Willie in there.
Yeah, no doubt. So who's not? Pablo hit a 3-run home run today. So, that's kind of tempered, but prior to today's game, he was 1 for 12, although overall he's one of the best hitting Giants. Mike Gerber, I know he struggled today again. Prior to today's game, he was 1 for 11. Belt 3 for 21. Solarte 3 for 18. D-Rod's ERA now stands at 5.75. That's 5 bad starts in a row for D-Rod, and this is a guy who had a sub-3 ERA last year and kind of was being considered as maybe the next, not the next ace, I wouldn't go as far as that, but certainly promising to be the next guy. But the Giants have had these guys in the past, like, your Sean Estes and Noah Lowry's and other guys like this who had these flashes of brilliance early in their career and then just kind of petered out. And D-Rod's still very young. He's a lot of time left. I just hope he's not one of those guys who just can't refigure it out, because it looks like the league has adapted to him, or he's slid down, or a combination of the both. But he's. I think they're going to keep him on the roster in the immediate future. But if he doesn't do well the next couple of starts, he's got plenty of options left. So I would not be surprised if he's sent down for someone like Tyler Beatty, who came up, he's been dominating in spring, dominating in AAA. He came in and he laid an egg against the Reds. I get it, but it was a one sample size. So I could see that happening. I could see him sent down for Beatty or someone else to come back up and see how he does.
I can too. I think Beatty's going to get another look regardless. I personally didn't think he was that bad Friday. He showed speed with movement.
Yes.
I mean, and then there was the first rally that got going for the Reds was really self-induced. I don't remember who the batter was, but he had 2 strikes on somebody, and he had just thrown.
It was a third strike. A third strike.
No, it wasn't even that. It was he threw a couple of 86-mile-an-hour pitches, and it was time to throw another fastball up in the zone, and he didn't. He threw another 86-mile-an-hour pitch, and whoever it was squared it up and either a double or a home run or something like that, and it kind of snowballed from there. So I'd be curious to see him go again. And I'm with you. D-Rod gets 2 more starts to see what he does. When did he start? Saturday? So Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday. He'll start Thursday in Colorado. I think you got to give him that and a home game against Toronto to see if D-Rod is on track or if he maybe needs to go down and tinker with something.
Yeah, I think that's unless he turns it around, I think that's kind of imminent, and Beatty will probably come back up to replace him. That's my guess, but I'm not saying that Beatty's going to dominate up here. Obviously, he had a bad start, but again, he had some bad luck. He had a couple of bad calls. It was in Cincinnati with the bandbox, so I think he needs a redo. We'll see what he does. Now Colorado, wouldn't exactly be the best place, but again, like you said, D-Rod will probably pitch in Colorado anyway. So maybe his next start is in their next home series, because the Giants actually have a lot of games at home in May and against a lot of sub-500 teams. So May could, statistically on paper, be a good month for the Giants. I mean, they've started out okay. They're over 500 for the month, but they got a long way to go. But D-Rod is one of those guys, His dad, Pudge, is there at most of his games and cheering him on. And he doesn't seem to have it right now, and he might need a fix. And this happens in Giants history and a lot of other teams where they need to be sent down to work on stuff.
Yeah, I don't even know what it is with him. It's more than missing his spots. It just doesn't. It seems like a confidence issue, and this goes back to me saying I feel like something's in their heads, and it does not help when you are giving up 7 runs in 3 innings.
For sure.
So,
all right, so Derek Holland has been struggling. His ERA is now 5.34. So, I mean, the starters for all of their, they've been doing so well most of the year. Lately have just obviously been astronomically hit. So we're going to see what happens. Now, Derek Holland last year was fantastic for the Giants. So I think there's a little bit of he doesn't have any options left. He's, a major league veteran. So I think the leash has got to be a little bit longer on Holland.
Plus, he showed versatility last year. He could slide to the bullpen if he needs to. And I think Holland is just happy to be a Giant. He's willing to do whatever it takes. He's on the injured list now because he bruised a finger in spring training while bunting, and apparently didn't bother him until recently. But I guess he's supposed to make a start in Colorado. What is today? Monday, so that'll be in Wednesday's game, I think, is the day he's scheduled to come off. And he can make a start that day before D-Rod, which is why they didn't need Beatty for more than just one start.
Exactly.
The off day afforded them last week. So, I mean, Holland's Holland. He's just going to kind of still be there at the end, I think.
I think so, too.
Yeah. So there was some news in the minor leagues this week as pitcher Logan Webb, who most recently has been with Richmond, was suspended 80 games for a performance-enhancing drug. And I can't say the name.
Okay.
Yeah. I have no idea how to say the name of this. It's like Stanzaloza Wazapal or something like that. I don't know what it is. Right? Yeah, it's just.
So you take it. I get it, Eric. You don't have to cover for yourself. I understand.
It's drugs. He's suspended. He seems contrite about it. He seems, he released something saying he didn't mean to embarrass the Giants. He didn't mean to embarrass anybody, but somehow, some way, it still got in his system, even though he claims he doesn't know how. So Oh, that's a bump in the road, but it just means that he's going to lose time on the mound. When these things happen in the minors, I've yet to see it really stunt anybody's growth through a minor league system. So if Logan Webb comes back and performs, he'll probably still get a call eventually. And then Jacob Hayward, the younger brother of Jason Hayward, has been tearing it up in Richmond this week. In 5 games it is. It's unbelievable. His name was jumping out the other day. He's 7 for 18 with 3 homers and 9 driven in 5 games. In 5 games, 1.343 OPS, which is just ridiculously off the charts. So Jason Hayward's little brother, Jacob Hayward, he's the star of the Giants minor league system this week. But the Logan Webb news, that came out of left field. Like, the Giants are just not having a good run of off-field PR. You know, I'm getting tired of watching. It's 3 versus Colorado.
Oh, no, that's wrong. Sorry.
You're a week ahead. Yeah, I'm getting tired of watching the Giants have to spin every off-field problem between the Bear incident and Logan Webb and the thing with the owner and possible donating to the Alabama candidate back last year and things like that. It'd be nice if the Giants' focus was just on the field now, instead of if they were better, it would be. But we're on the down part of the cycle right now. What can you do?
We are. All right. So coming up, we do have the Giants go from Cincinnati to Colorado for 3 games, which. Hey, look, it'll improve the Giants' offense, but obviously also hurt their pitching. So we'll see what happens. Colorado is just about a half a game ahead. Well, I guess technically 1 now, full game ahead of the Giants in the standings. But, hopefully they can leapfrog them, winning this series, and then they come back home for 3 against Cincinnati once again. I don't anticipate the Reds scoring 9 runs a game. No. Over the 3-game series. That's probably not going to happen. Cincinnati will be bitch slapped with Oracle Park, and we'll see what happens here. But I would love to play a game in Cincinnati. Not that I could hit home runs. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's a bandbox, and it's frustrating. And the Giants are obviously considering moving in the fences in Triples Alley and moving the bullpens, of course, for. Duggar got hurt momentarily. He didn't go on the DL or the IL, but it's something that the Giants need to consider as, do we really need to have the bullpens here? Do we really need to have Triples Alley, where Brandon Belt in the last homestand crushed a couple to 410 feet in that 421 corner, which would have exceeded Nick Senzel's home run by 60 feet today.
Yeah,
and it's an out. And so. Mike Krukow came on earlier this week with Murph and Mac on KMBR and talked about how he thinks absolutely Triples Alley is demoralizing for the Giants players. And the reason is because visitors come in, they're only in for 3 or 4 games, right? So if they hit 1 or 2 there as a team, they're not really thinking about it. But for Giants players, when you have Brandon Belt and others hitting 4, 5, 6 balls per year into Triples Alley that would have been home runs or doubles in other places, being outs at Oracle, really does affect the psychology of the players. And so he's all for bringing the fences in there. I love the low-scoring games. I love the idiosyncrasies of parks that have character to them, quote-unquote. But, look, the Giants Park is the hardest stadium to hit home runs in, period. And I know everyone is concerned if they move the fences in, well, that increases the opponent's chances of hitting home run as well. Yes, that's true. But if Mike Krukow is right, it might be a bit of a psychological boost if the Giants realize, a lot of the left-handed batters, and even right-handed, like Posey, who goes oppo all the time, have a chance of getting a double or a home run if the fences are pulled in at Triples Alley. I don't know. Maybe it's about time. Detroit did it. Arizona did it. Many other new parks have done it. The Giants are one of the few new parks in the last 20 years that have not moved in the fences. So maybe they need to follow suit. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Buster's homer the other day was 400 feet. It would not have been out where he hit it. So that's another example of how it did benefit the Giants being not just in a bandbox, because 400 feet's a good poke in most of the other places.
Poke, yeah.
That's not. But to have that still fall as not a home run, it's time to do it. The game has changed. The players have changed. Everything has kind of changed a little bit. So they need to come and be with the times. I don't buy the whole, well, they won this many championships there and they can do it again, because that psychology that Kruko is talking about is exactly right. And I think it's indicated, you shared a stat after the game the other night, that the Giants had played 16 games at home and 16 on the road. And at home, they'd only hit 8 home runs, but on the road, they'd hit 19.
Yeah. And
that's in the same amount of games. Even though they've given up 17 at home, they've only hit 8. And I'm with you, because the psychology, like Kruko said, is there. Like these other guys, they're just in and out. No big deal. I don't have to deal with this all the time. But when you go up there as a Brandon Belt and you know that you have to always yank it completely or get absolutely all of the ball, and even then it's not good enough sometimes, that has to be demoralizing. It's got to feel like you're just running into a wall all the time. And, for the sake of the player's psyche, I think that's part of the big reason to change it. So I'm all for it. I really am. I'm progressive when it comes to baseball nowadays. I'm okay with most of the changes that seem to be coming into play. I'm okay with the Giants games changing a little bit. It's tough to evaluate your own talent when they play in such different ballparks all the time. So having 6 games at Oracle and then 7 games in Cincinnati and Colorado before 5 more games at Oracle, or 7 or whatever it is, it's tough to evaluate what your talent is, because they have to play such different types of baseball games. And the way the game is played nowadays is it's not always you adjust your players to the park. Sometimes you need to adjust the park to the players.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do think that, I know it's going to cost a lot of money, but the Giants are making money hand over fist, even though that the attendance is down this year, and they have a lot of, I've been hearing from a lot of season ticket holders, this kind of happened with the Raiders too, and the 49ers at Levi Stadium. You have these people who invested into stadium seat licenses and season tickets when the Giants were good, and the money was worth it in terms of the demand, and they were selling their tickets on third party websites and making money. I had some friends that had season tickets, and they were actually going to 20, 30, 40 games a year and actually getting paid to do so, which is great. Good for them. But now that's not the case. Now you have these face value $100 tickets being sold for $10 before the game. And so people are buying these on StubHub because people are just trying to get the pennies on the dollar for their seats. So it's an interesting challenge, because the Giants, had 500 and something, or maybe it wasn't that much, 300 something consecutive sellouts during their World Series years, and now they're about 10-20% under capacity. And so it's a real problem for the Giants, and they need to figure out what they're going to do to make this money. But long story short, Giants are still doing well over most major league teams. They're making money in black territory. So, Farhan's got a good handle on the Giants, and I think that it's going to take a couple of years. I think most people recognize that. We do see fans going, "Why hasn't Farhan produced a 110-game winner already?" Guys, that's not possible. I don't care. You're the best GM in the world. That's not going to happen. It's going to take some time, but for the most part, I would say that Farhan is doing his job, and he's definitely cycling through players trying to build that depth. And you've seen it with the moves he's made, not only with the signings, but also the DFAs. I mean, look at, Parra was just DFA'd, and, a lot of people liked him. But if you don't produce right away, you're not going to be part of this team, because we need guys who can contribute. It's definitely a change and a shift from the old regime where we kept guys on probably far too long, and that's just not going to happen with this guy.
No, it's going to be tough. The emotional ties that we have are, I think, what the biggest obstacle is as fans, and it's tough to watch those Belt, Crawford, Bumgarner, superstars of years past struggle. And the Giants don't play an interesting brand of baseball right now. So I get why attendance would be down. But if you configure some things and you're playing some more 6-5 games instead of 2-1 games, then you're going to get some more people in the door. I should say 6-5 games instead of 6-2 games, with the Giants being the 2 all the time. Right. You'll get more people in the door, and it would be more popular in that way. I mean, they rode the wave while they had it, and it's time to find a new wave. And that's why staying, I love the attachments we have to the championship core guys, but it's going to have to be time to say goodbye to some of them. Other teams win championships, and then half their players are on other teams the next year. The Giants have been fortunate enough that we've been able to keep around these stars, these legends from the heyday for as long as they have. But that heyday ended, almost 5 years ago now. So some of these guys, it's not their time anymore, it seems like.
Yeah. No, it's rough. We love to hold on to the nostalgia and what we loved about the Giants. And, it's kind of like what a lot of Bay Area fans are going through with the Warriors right now. Winning all these championships and being in the middle of the playoffs, losing to the Rockets the other night. People are like, oh, my God, they might not win 3 championships in a row, right? It's ridiculous. And I think people criticize too early, too often when they have it so good. And so I think we need to recognize now that the Giants are in a rebuilding process. And this just isn't going to be what we're used to in 10, 12, and 14, and even 16 with the playoffs. So it's been 2.5 years of very, very bad baseball for the Giants. And all I can say is we're still here, Eric. We're still following this team.
That's why I know that they play ugly baseball, because I watch every game. I still watch every game. I was a Giants fan before they were good. I'll be a Giants fan when they're not good, and I'll be a Giants fan when they're good again. That's what being a fan is,
That's exactly what being a fan is all about. So, all right, well, that's going to do it for episode 164 of the TortureCast. You can follow us collectively at TortureCast, like us on Facebook. You can find us there. We've been publishing a lot of stuff lately. Eric always has his This Date in Giants History and a couple other things. I've had some photos of the Yankee series that I attended in 2007. Really cool stuff. So go ahead and like us there. Follow us on that page. You can follow us individually at 2 Out Hits. That's with the number 2 for Eric. Myself at ChadK21. And Eric, do you have anything else that you want to talk about?
No, I have not come up with a This Week in Giants History yet for this week, so I might take a dive on Willie Mays. I'm not sure. It's just, it takes a little research to find, like, Robbie's cycle and stuff like that. Yeah, but I have a feeling as the season goes on, I'm going to be able to pick and choose my Barry Bonds moments. So it makes sense that I have to struggle right now, because as the season drags on, there are so much better and greater moments in history. Like the Matt Cain no-hitter, perfect game is right there for me. Timmy's no-hitters.
Right, yeah.
Right, like all these great memories that happen, like June onward, will all just come easily. And so I'm having to work a little harder this week to find a This Week in Giants History.
Well, I know the Giants aren't so good right now, but, they're 5 games under 500, which isn't the worst thing in the world. They could be a lot worse. The Giants need to obviously do better in the first couple of innings, being outscored by, basically almost 2 runs in the first 5 innings, but we'll see what they do here against Colorado, getting out of Cincinnati, thankfully, with 2 wins. But until then, Cincinnati. I know, goodbye, Cincinnati. My God. And they come back to San Francisco. And, these games aren't going to be 10-9 in San Francisco. I mean, what do you think? It's a 3-game series. How many runs do you think the Giants or the Reds are going to score per game?
Maybe 5.
Yeah. And I think that's the most they would score. That's 15 runs over the 3 games. Yeah, I'm thinking like even less than that. So I think the Giants are going to take care of the Reds and win 2 out of 3. We'll see what happens as they line up. Of course, they could be limping out of Colorado because that's always a shit show there, but we'll see what happens. But all right, for Eric, this is Chad signing off for episode 164. We'll see you next time. A boom.
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the Torture Cast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at torturecast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.